Hello, everyone. Long time no see. Welcome, welcome, welcome to my freak show. It is so great to have all of you here. Thank you all so much for being here, and you too, Cookie. I set up a barrier so Cookie couldn't come over here, and he just had no fluffs to spare. Blaze, it is so great to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. Guys, anyone who does arrive, I know, honey, I love you. You go lay down. Go lay down. We're going to start at the 5-minute mark just to give people enough time to come and sit down, get settled, and be ready. Okay. First off, I just want to say, guys, that I do apologize. It's been a little bit. My son broke his arm. It's band season. My daughter has had a stomach problem and it has been insane. And then once I started getting the information about American Horror Story, I just kind of thought, I just want to be something else other than AHS. So I made a theory. Well, I made a script to a theory about Yellow Jackets because all of you awesome people out there told me to watch Yellow Jackets and I did. So I made a theory video for you guys. And I'm getting ready to put that one out. The script is already done. So I am just excited to start branching out and doing new things. So this live will also constitute like a little kickoff of new things because I'm going to do a little series on the Delphi case. And you're probably wondering, Mary, why are you so concerned about this case? There are so many others. You've never done this before either. What's the dealio? Cookie wants to know what the dealio is as well. So I just want to say that once I started hearing Cookie, nobody can hear me and or see me. You go lay down. I gave you your treats. You go sit down. You go not on me. Okay. My sweetness. So I started watching the trial, and the fact that there weren't cameras, audio, or anything like that allowed in the court, and all of this, oh, sorry, baby, Odinism stuff that kind of came at the beginning of the trial, it just kind of had me like, this is definitely going to be an interesting case to follow. I know, sweetheart. You lay down. Go. Nope. Go lay down. Go lay down. Don't get lipstick on your face. No, go lay down. Good boy. Fix my little barrier right here that he can't get through. But when I started watching the Delphi trial, I thought, oh my God, is this really all the evidence they have? Is this really what they've got? And then I started digging a little deeper. And it really hit me when they found what they found in Abby Williams' hands. That's what really led me down the rabbit hole. I was already kind of going with a lot of you and a lot of people online that were like, this guy is guilty. His bullet came or his bullet was found there. That was ejected from his gun. This guy's guilty. But like I said, as the trial came out and a lot of information came out, I realized, well, I don't think this guy's guilty. And you'll know me. You'll know I'm a very logical, reasonable person. And it just inspired me to make this live because coming at you is going to be kind of like a little bit of a series regarding it. I'm going to make a video regarding like the background and the timeline of the case, along with the investigative process and like sort of like their challenges, their suspects and how they developed it, legal proceedings, trial details, and the, of course, outcome. So there'll be not like a docu-series, but something like that, an investigative, in-depth series regarding this trial. So this live stream, I wanted to let you guys know why I'm going to do that. And to also let you know, Yellow Jackets, I'm excited for season 3. Thank you so much for the suggestion. I loved the first 2 seasons. I think they put them on Netflix, so I just binged them. I should have did a series review or something like that, but I did not. I apologize. Drinking a little cola tonight. Okay, it is 7:05. It is time to get into Richard Allen, the Delphi trial. I do want to say, guys, first off, this live is based on my opinion, which doesn't mean 1 cent in this world to anybody but me. I'm absolutely not accusing anybody of a crime or a cover up. Please watch your own videos, do your own research, and make up your own mind. And with that out of the way, I watched as much as I could that was reported from the Richard Allen trial. If you guys did not know, cameras, audio recordings, and pictures were not allowed. And the reporters who were there to attend were given very limited space. So, therefore, much of the trial has been reported secondhand from the journalists that were allowed in the courtroom. So, I'll leave a link to the videos that I watched and stuff like that. I'll go back after this live and put those links to those handy videos in the description box. So, okay, I just have to say this, guys, that the trial basically came down. Well, let me just also do one more disclaimer. It's a spoiler warning, my darlings. If I'm going to talk to you guys as if you have watched this trial and the news coverage on it. So spoiler warning if you want to proceed. But if you don't want to proceed and you just want to get the back information, you can just stop the video now and I'll have my other videos coming covering this case coming up. For the first one will be Friday. But let's begin with the actual evidence that the state had against Richard Allen. Okay. Number one, Richard Allen made 61 confessions to the crime. Okay, that's a lot. 61 confessions. Woo! The police found one spent bullet at the crime scene between Abby and Libby's bodies that matched a gun that was owned by Richard. And Richard allegedly said that he, in his confession to the police, that he moved the girls, or that it just started with an SA assault. But that he moved them because he saw a white van driving down the road, so it like disturbed him. And so it spooked him, and so they think they found the guy who drove that white van to corroborate it. However, when they got that guy on the stand, he was a vending machine worker, and that day he went to work on vending machines. And so the defense asked him, "Hey, which he was very hostile, by the way. Do you make it a habit to go home after work?" 'Cause I guess he had a regular job and then he had a vending machine job. They asked him, "Do you make it a habit to go home after work before you go to your next job at for the vending machines?" And he said, "No, I don't do that." And he had testified that he had worked that day until like 2:10, and it takes him about 20 minutes to get home. So that was about 2:30, which fit the prosecution's timeline. So that's how they linked Richard Allen's confession to be true to facts that they thought they had. And guys, I know you have a ton of questions regarding this case, and I don't believe that we got all of the answers during this trial, but we can absolutely ask them together through this live and through the comprehensive videos that I'll give you guys afterwards. But basically, in his confession, there was nothing in his confession that they could positively link as fact that a witness saw. For example, the witnesses that saw Bridge Guy that day, when they were all up on the stand, every single one of them, like Sarah, Blair, all of them, they were not asked by the prosecution, "Is this man, Richard Allen, that is sitting before you in this court, is he the man that you saw on the bridge?" They didn't ask him that. You want to know why? Because when they asked them through preliminary questions, the prosecutor came out and admitted this later, that when they had asked them before, when they were forming the case, the witnesses could not say that Richard Allen was Bridge Guy. They could not identify him as that guy. So they did not ask them, which is a little tricky way of actually keeping that information out. And the prosecution, in my opinion, did a great job of keeping important information out, like the sketches. Okay, so the sketches, I guess because the police formatted it that this was not a suspect, or they said something about maybe it was just a person of interest, someone they wanted to talk to, but because he was not officially labeled a suspect, um, therefore, because those 2 sketches don't match Richard Allen, that's how they got away with that, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it was so crazy. Nobody could have witnessed, neither his family or the witnesses could identify Allen as Bridge Guy. And these people got a close look up at him. And if you also look at their, which I apologize, I do actually have those images. I just kind of saved them for when I actually do a video, but let me go on ahead and screen share and just pull that up for you guys. Oops, hang on one second. Present, share screen. Uh, oh, did not let me share the image. Okay, so we'll just put up this one and hopefully the image comes up whenever oh no, I don't want to edit. My image is an AI, I don't do that. So hopefully you guys are actually seeing this image right now and not my YouTube presentation. But this on the left-hand side, which would be the right, obviously opposite, but that was one sketch. And this guy kind of looks more like Justin Timberlake. Both of the witnesses also said that this was a young, muscular guy. So it is insane at the fact that the witness's description to Richard Allen at the time that, the crime took place did not match him. So like, it just didn't make sense. It seemed like the prosecution shot itself in the foot, and that the defense did a pretty good job of tearing them apart and making sure that they could not identify Richard Allen or his voice. Which, even though, yeah, he wasn't the same, a lot of the people who testified, the witnesses, they said that this was a young, muscular man, like in his 20s, a large, tall man. He wasn't short. Richard Allen is like 5'4", 5'5". They said he was muscular, boyish, youthful appearance with brown, poofy hair. I mean, it was insane that the witnesses, when they were describing Bridge Guy, it did not match Richard Allen whatsoever. I mean, that's not the only weird thing that happens in this trial. So basically, in my opinion, we can absolutely discredit the whole thing about the witnesses seeing him there because they couldn't validly say, yeah, that's him. That's the guy I saw. So we can absolutely throw out the whole thing about the witnesses saying that they saw Richard at the bridge, though he already did admit that, yeah, he was there. One funny thing, though, that I do want to say is that Richard said in his initial testimony, when questioned by the police, because after these beautiful young women were had their lives taken, Richard went to the police and admitted to them, "Yes, I was there at the bridge that day. This is what I was wearing. This is what I drove. This is what I saw." And he said in his initial report that he saw 3 young women, an older one who kinda looked like she was babysitting 2 younger girls. And we'll get back to that in just a little bit, okay? But that was in his initial statement. And other than that, he had no contact with Abby or Libby. He was not involved in the crime. And as a matter of fact, I think he said that he left before the crime took place, and I think his cell phone data even indicated that. So, okay, we have we have that, and we also have the whole thing about the white van. Richard Allen said in his confession that a white van spooked him, but there is so much doubt about that because the guy who drove the white van, basically the defense got him up there and said that no, he wasn't driving the van that day. So it couldn't have been his white van that spooked Richard Allen. So at this point, I'm looking at nothing that Richard obviously said in his confessions was true because it makes me think of the yogurt shop murders. Now, just bear with me for a moment here, guys, because I live in Austin, Texas. This is my city. I love this place, and the yogurt shop murders happened in like 91, when I lived outside of the city, but it was so whoo, it like cast a huge shadow on this city due to what happened. And with the yogurt shop, we had people confess to it. Okay. So the original detectives on the case came out many years later in a documentary and said, yeah, we had a lot of people come forward and confess to this case. But due to the fact that we kept certain information close to the glove that we did not let journalists know, we did not let people know, we didn't even let the family know. So we kept that information to our so that way, the person who comes in to confess, if they know this information that the police are holding back, then they'll know they've caught their killer. Okay. So happens sometimes. Sometimes, sadly, when people are undiagnosed, they don't have their medication, they want attention. There's so many reasons why people come in and falsely confess to crimes. It is well documented. Well documented. And that leads us to Richard Allen's 61 alleged confessions. Now, if I listened to it right, and I believe I did, Richard was pulled in by police, okay, and questioned. And I guess all that stuff was lost before. Sadly, a lot of information was lost. So we had the phone calls that Richard had made to his mother and his wife. And it starts with Richard saying, I think I did this. I think I did this. And Richard's mom is telling him, honey, you didn't do this. I think they're just trying to convince you of something that they want you to think you did. Just stop talking. You didn't do this. And it just continues. Richard tells everybody, his guards, his wife. And then soon it becomes where Richard's not saying, I think I did this. He specifically says, I killed Abby and Libby. And that's enough to make you say, okay, well, if this guy is really saying that he did it, he probably did. But we have the 61 confessions where he starts with, I think I did it, to I did it. And then later on, it's like, I did it. You need to accept this. Stop trying for me. Don't love me. I did this. I essayed my daughter, my wife. In fact, I murdered my wife and my daughter. I mean, this guy started confessing to crimes that he did not even commit because his daughter got up on the stand, I believe in the second week of the trial for the defense, and she testified that her father never was violent with her, and he never put a hand on her in like the inappropriate sort of way. She said none of that ever happened. He was a good father. And I don't remember if Kathy, his wife, testified. I thought they were going to call her today. But if I'm correct, the defense rested their case. So I don't think she's going to testify. Maybe I could be wrong. You guys let me know in the comments, but they had an expert come in and break down Alan's confessions. And Richard made a lot of those confessions after he had been put in solitary, denied a lot of things, even fresh air and sunlight, called a baby killer by all the other inmates. And I mean, I think even our United States laws indicate that, for other nations, if we keep other people for more than 15 days in solitaire, it's considered solitary. It's considered cruel punishment because psychosis will absolutely set in. And it really seems that when the defense attorney presented the videotapings of Richard Allen in his prison cell, that psychosis had absolutely set in. This man was banging his head against the wall, drawing his own blood, rolling around in his own feces and ingesting it, and there was just a lot of stuff that he was doing, and this man has been in solitaire for a year. A year in this small ass little cell. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I would I don't I'm mentally strong now that I see a therapist and after everything that happened to me with the poisoning. Thank you. Thank you very much, Alyssa. So, I feel that I'm mentally strong. However, if I was put in prison in solitary, I don't know how long I could make that. No way. I don't know how long any of us could make that. So, his 61 alleged confessions can be shown as Richard Allen had I believe in court they did show that he did have some mental problems, and therefore it's the police taking him and putting him in solitary and treating him like a filthy animal is what really brought down his mental status, making him start to confess, and is what pushed that onto him, making him do that. And again, 61 confessions. At first, I thought, well, that guy's guilty. He obviously wants people to know that he did this. But then, as you listen in the trial of the context of the confessions and the wording that he's using and how he's doing it and how it just gets worse and worse, it's in the situation that he's living in. I don't know. I would probably say anything too to get out of something like that. So I don't know. His confessions did not absolutely convince me. Neither did the fact of the white van, and neither did the whole thing of him being bridge guy with the witnesses. So those three things did not convince me. So let's move on to the last piece. The piece that is actually incriminating is the spent shell case that was left behind at the crime scene. Okay, so at the crime scene, in between Abby and Libby, in between their precious, young, sweet bodies, was a spent bullet casing. And it had no prints on it, had no DNA whatsoever, nothing, no blood, nothing. It was just like a bullet that had been dropped in the middle of two young ladies who met a horrible, unfortunate, gruesome end to their lives. So it took a little time, but they discovered that that bullet came from a gun owned by Richard Allen. So I guess what happened is once they found more information on that bullet, more about the gun, they were actually able to get to the maker and find out who could have possibly owned a gun like this to make the markings. And they, anyway, blah, blah, blah. They traced it to Richard Allen. They got a warrant to search his house. They seized the gun and they checked to see if that was the same round that had been spent from his gun. And their forensics expert said it is. It was spent from the gun belonging to Richard Allen. Okay, let's break this down just a tiny bit. The defense, and I'm sure you guys understand it, anybody's going to say anything if you pay them enough. But the defense did come on and say when a gun is spent from a when a bullet is spent from a gun such as that, like when you have it, it's loaded, you just basically pull it back, the bullet pops out, you push it back in, and that's it. Okay, so that would certainly indicate why there's probably no fingerprints. You don't need to physically take it out, but you have to physically put it in there. And I'm sure somebody could have been wearing gloves. Absolutely. But why are you such a great criminal guy that you leave absolutely no DNA, but you leave your bullet right in the middle of the crime scene that you know that they could trace back to you? Does that make sense? Because I know people make mistakes. Absolutely. People make mistakes. I'm not saying this case, what he is alleged doing is a mistake. No. I'm just saying criminals make mistakes in their crimes. And thankfully they do because that is what law enforcement, those mistakes make them able to catch them. However, in this crime scene, guys, there was no DNA, none whatsoever except for the girls. There were no fingerprints except for the girls. There was no nothing except for the girls. However, there was something something that the prosecution did not think was important, and I really wanna discuss that in about 20 minutes because to me, it's massively important because this points to somebody else, okay? So, when the state was presenting their evidence, they presented how these 2 beautiful humans passed away, and sadly, their throats were injured many times, as you guys can understand. It's almost like a Nicole Simpson thing, except not as severe, and it was I believe it was multiple times. Poor Libby was not wearing clothes, and Abby was wearing Libby's clothes. And in Abby's hands were 70 to 72 hairs that had been ripped out by the root. So basically, like if you have like maybe this much. So this was found entangled in her hand, like yanked. This had been yanked out of somebody's hair. Entangled in her fingers. It was there in her fingers, pulled out by the roots. Did they talk to that person? No. They asked that person, "Hey, why is your hair there?" No. Is this person a suspect? Well, I mean, they haven't been indicated that they're the police officers did say everybody's a suspect, even the family. So, why wasn't this person looked at? We're gonna get to that in about a good like I said, a good, 20, 25 minutes because that's how I wanna bring this home, and that is what I want to probably base my next videos on, is that I just don't think Richard Allen did this. Now let me bring it home again with the evidence. Defense brought up a gun expert who indicated that every time a gun is spent or sorry, every time a bullet is spent from its gun, it doesn't always create the same marks on it. It could be different. So the fact is that they really can't say because if the gun was shot, absolutely, they could get the groove and the bullet marks and absolutely match it. But when you push it out, it ejects much differently. The carvings are much different. So that's the problem here. So the defense has a gun expert that says, "Hey, wait a second now. When you eject a gun, it's not always the same grooves in there every single time." And I guess she was able to prove this. So, in my opinion, they totally busted down the whole one spent bullet at the crime scene because number one, it doesn't make sense, guys. If Richard really was the killer, why would he not leave any evidence? Of course, he obviously had to be wearing something, to keep his hair in from dropping, um, and to stop his blood or to stop any of their blood from getting on him. So obviously he had some kind of protection. Maybe he brought gloves with him. Maybe after he got the girls across the lake, like he said, he changed into something. He didn't have anything to change into, but let's just go with that fact that yes, he did all of that. He took every single step because he was ready. He was going to murder somebody that day or a crime of opportunity, whichever. Why why would he drag the body of Libby and do all of that and make sure he didn't leave any evidence behind to before he leaves, he undoes his gun and leaves the bullet on the ground. Even the Menendez brothers, who were so stupid in their crime, they picked up their shotgun shells. I mean, it's just common criminal 101. You do not leave your shell casings behind. I mean, it's really sad, but it's the truth. So It just really hit me. Either this guy is so smart not to leave any kind of DNA, not to have injuries because he resumed his life regular right after, saw his wife right after and everything. Nobody noticed anything, said he was fine. Even when he went to the police, after Abby and Libby were found, and their futures had ended and Richard went in, he had no visible marks, no visible bruises, nothing to show that he had committed this terrible crime. So why would he drop the shell? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, yeah, sure. Okay, let's give it to the prosecution that it was just a moment of stupidity. Maybe he used the gun to lure the girls down the hill. It doesn't, I mean, he didn't need one if obviously if he had a knife, but because people will do obviously what you say too, even with knives. They're more obviously compliant with guns, but they'll comply too with knives. Secondly, he gets them down the hill, does this, and then afterwards he's looking at them, he's all happy about his work, maybe gets the bullet out, maybe just thinking like, I don't want anyone to know that my gun was loaded, so he ejects it, puts it back, and let's just say, for example, sure, he had a dumb moment and forgot to pick up that shell. Okay, let's just say that. There's no DNA on that on the shell. There's no DNA anywhere of Alan's. Sure, the casings do match, but I have seen police needing more evidence, needing more in order to actually just be, you can't just arrest people willy-nilly. You actually need evidence. So with that shell casing there, I mean, it would absolutely give them evidence to search his house. Yes, 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 and continue. But it just really seemed to me like they beat this guy down enough to get him to say what they wanted him to say. Now, I'm not saying that Richard wasn't there or he's not guilty, but I am saying that with Libby being dragged and the girls being moved, maybe it's just possible that that bullet was just already there at some other time, at some other time when he had been there with his own daughter, because his daughter did come up there and testify they had went to the Delphi Bridge many times together. Excuse me. So this guy had been there before, and that's the one itty bitty piece of evidence that ties him there. Then he gives you a confession that you can't link up to anybody to confirm it, and then you go ahead with prosecution. So what I'm saying is, look, maybe Richard Allen is the guy. Maybe he absolutely is the guy. But this is America where you are innocent until they prove you are guilty. And if I was in this situation and if I were innocent of this crime, it would make me so fucking scared that they could actually get a warrant and go further just by that little itty bitty piece of evidence that they think they've gotten. Now, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say it's not a little bitty piece of evidence. The fact is, there was no prints and there was no DNA on it. If this guy had bought them, if Richard had bought them and kept them, I mean, at some point, just by skin transfer, even if he was using gloves, just by being around them, his skin would have shed on one of the bullets. And it's highly doubtful he would have wiped the bullet before putting it in the chamber. I mean, a lot of people don't think about that. And a lot of people too, just to reiterate, a lot of criminals, you just don't leave the shell casings behind. You don't leave the bullets. You don't, regardless. So the only pieces of evidence that they have against Richard Allen is that he made those 61 confessions, which the degradation of his cell, his mental status, calling him a baby killer, and just all of the everything he's had to go through, his mental stability obviously degraded severely where he has confessed to crimes that he obviously did not do. His daughter even had to come onto the witness stand and say, in that confession that you heard on that day, my dad said that he essayed and then he killed me. That's not true. I'm alive. I'm sitting right here. He never laid one finger on me, and he never murdered me, or my mother. So, I mean, it was yeah, I mean, at that point, police would normally send him to a psychiatric hospital where they could get him better and on the right meds, where he's in the right cohesive frame of mind, and then they would talk to him. And because once he's better and he can actually formulate cohesive thoughts and he maybe things aren't so muffled and the medication will help clear his mind and maybe get him out of what he's all that severe depression that he's in and everything and the psychosis. Once he's clear, I bet that's when he would be able to sit there and say, no, I didn't do that. Or, yeah, I did that. And this is really what happened. So again, I'm not saying he did it. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm just saying at this point, I would never have brought this man to trial. I would have put him in a psychiatric hospital with some good people, let them take care of him for about a good 3 to 6 months. And then after that, I would sit back down with him and say, look, we need to know for a fact your bullet casing, your bullet was there. How were you involved in this? Because maybe Richard wasn't involved, or sorry, maybe he didn't do it, but maybe he was involved somehow. Maybe he was just one of the watchers or something. When I say watchers, I just mean like lookouts. Because I do believe more than one person was absolutely involved in this crime. I don't think Abby and Libby together at that age would let one person overtake them. Especially they weren't found to be bound or anything. So how could you hurt one while the other one wouldn't get away? I mean, it just doesn't make sense that one person could do this to a 13 and a 14-year-old. I remember myself at that age. And I mean, I was going to go down fighting. And at any chance I would have to run away, I would have run away. No offense to the friends that I was with, but I would have absolutely saved myself. That's how we are. That's just who we are at that age. So I just don't believe that one person did this. So again, we broke down his alleged confessions about how he could have said such a thing and how a lot of the confessions that he said were not true. And then the piece of the bullet found at the crime scene, it's still not even 100% yet. We heard testimony that it definitely came from Richard's gun, and then we heard testimony that, hey, yeah, it could have, but every time a shell is ejected, it makes a different cut on the actual bullet. So we don't know. I mean, it could have been to another kind of gun. It doesn't necessarily, it couldn't, it's possible that it was another gun other than Allen's. That's what I'm trying to say. So, okay. And then the whole thing about Richard and his confession saying that the police actually believed that his confession was real because he said that he took the girls down the hill and that he got spooked because he saw a white van drive nearby, and that's why he moved them across the river and did what he did there. But again, the guy who drives the white van only in that rural neighborhood admitted that he was not driving on the road that time of the day. So the witnesses were also brought to show that their descriptions did not match Allen. They could not point him out in court as the bridge guy. And the woman, Sarah, whose testimony was like the most important because she claimed that she saw Richard Allen leaving from that area covered in mud and blood. Now, the first time she came forward, it was like 3 weeks later, I think. I apologize. I just don't have that information up in front of me. But she came forward like 3 days or 3 weeks later and told them that she saw a guy with a lot of mud on him. But she just assumed that maybe he had been fishing or something like that, or he had been walking the line of the river or whichever. Then she comes back again because they have her come back and re-describe him. She says the exact same thing. And then the third time she goes in to retell them about this guy, she adds the blood. So the defense was, had her on the stand saying, why did it take you 3 interviews with the police to finally admit that you saw blood on this guy? And I think she tried to say some excuse like, I just didn't remember at that time. But the defense got after her, and it's like, this was a massive crime. 2 girls had just been murdered right near where you were, and you saw a guy emerging from the woods that you thought could have been blood on him, that you're saying now was mud and blood. It took you days to report it, and it took you so much time to even tell them it was blood. How could you, mistake that? And so she got really angry, really defensive. I mean, I didn't get to see it, but I heard that she was, very defensive, this witness, Sarah, as well as the white van driver, because they had him on there for testimony for a really long time, for like 2 or 3 days. And he was hostile. I mean, that's like the only word that people use to describe him, was hostile. So, okay, let's take some comments, because in 5 minutes, I'm gonna start the information about whose hair was found in Libby or in Abby's hand, and who is a suspect that the police did not actually look at. So I'm hoping maybe you guys would just listen to it with me and let me know. Let me know what you think. Okay. Let's see. Of course, Blaze, I love you. Thank you so much for being here. Misty Knight, thank you, Misty. You are the best. Zach, that guy, Zach, I miss you too. Send love to Cook and Raider. Proud of you and GM. Yes, in case you guys didn't hear, my sweet son Raider broke his arm. So, I mean, so many things have been going on. And of course, my other son started band, and oh my God, it's been so crazy. So, don't you worry. My sweet son was trying to just, he was on school grounds, and they had a really steep walkway, so he tripped and, like, put his hand forward to catch himself, but his hand went under and it broke right in here, so, yeah, poor guy's about to get his cast, so I I love him, my sweet guy, I've been taking care of him and all my kids, so, yeah, thank you guys so much. Proud of you guys, y'all are the best, thank you. Sorry about the light too, because I wanted to make sure that I had enough, and it just didn't happen. I guess I got too much. Hey, Mary in chat. Hey, Dead Pop Star. Sorry I haven't been in your streams forever, and to be honest, this year hasn't been filled with massive trip. Oh, I'm so sorry. So I wasn't anyway trying to move past. I hear you, Dead Pop Star. We're here for you. We love you, and we will always support you too. So if there's anything you need from us, just let us know. So Blaze said that I feel like there's something more and or fishy about this case. Yes, absolutely. And yes, Blaze, we sure can on Discord. Blaze, Zach, that guy, a lot of my wonderful viewers are channel members, and we have a special Discord for channel members. So if you guys do want to become a channel member and join that Discord and chat with all of us and chat with me, you are very welcome to. Channel member stuff is in the description. So um, hello, Nova Star Roblox. It's so great to have you. All right. Okay, so Dave is asking if the shell was fired or intact. No, it was intact. So what had happened is that it had been put into the chamber, and then just ejected out. It was never actually fired. So 61 confessions for one piece of evidence. That's kind of sus. Absolutely. So, what do you guys think now that I've told you some of this information regarding the defense and the prosecution regarding the evidence against Richard Allen? There's so much more of this aspect of this case to talk about. And I will be doing more soon. I'll probably do another live on Friday, because I want to have that video out, at least my Yellow Jackets theory video, by Friday, because I'm so excited for that one. I made an Antler Queen theory video. You guys know I had to do one of that. So, yeah. So let me know what you think in the comments of who you think, or sorry, do you think the state proved that Richard Allen was guilty, or do you think the defense was able to prove that he was not guilty? And my personal opinion, if I was sitting on the jury and I had to judge this case, I would absolutely say there is enough reasonable evidence to doubt this man's guilt, and I would not convict him. I'd tell the police, you know what? Go back at it, try to find something else. Now, speaking of This is gonna be a little controversial, and again, I wanna reiterate that this is just my opinion. It's not worth 1 cent to anybody except me, okay? But there is one big thing in this case that really hit me hard. Okay, in the testimony regarding the girls and how they died, it was proven that Abby had 70 strands of hair, 70 to 72 strands of hair gripped in her hand, like entangled around her fingers. I believe it was her right hand. Okay, guess whose hair that was? Because police sure did find the owner. And I'm just curious, chat, if you guys wanna take a guess real quick on who you think's hair that was. Was it Richard Allen's? Was it a stranger? Is it somebody that's in the criminal database? Is it a family member? Is it somebody who you never would have suspected? I'm just curious on who, and it is okay if you don't wanna answer at this moment. That's perfectly fine. I don't blame you. It gets a little nerve-wracking. Let's talk about it, though. The strands, the 70 to 72 strands pulled by the root of hair that was found in Abby's hand belonged to Kelsey German, Liberty's older sister. No, Libby, sorry. So Libby's older sister, Kelsey. Kelsey is a couple of years older than Liberty. I think at that time, maybe she was 17 or 18. I'm not sure. And Kelsey always said that she's the one that dropped the girls, Abby and Libby off at the bridge. And Kelsey said that Libby already had a jacket in her car because she always rode with her. And that Abby did not have a jacket. And even though it was still a little warm for the temperature, it was a lot colder in the shade. So Kelsey gave Abby her gray sweatshirt. And those were the 2 sweatshirts that the 2 jackets that the girls were wearing. And Kelsey gave a description of what the girls were wearing and of the jackets. Okay. Kelsey was the last one to see Abby and Libby. Okay. She lied about Abby wearing her sweatshirt because it has come out now that the sweatshirt that Kelsey is referring to is like a different kind of cotton. It's more fancier. It's got this beautiful white fringe on it, like lace fringe. It's really pretty and it looks really comfortable. And the jacket that Abby was wearing, she was already photographed wearing. So obviously, Kelsey lied about giving Abby her sweatshirt. And this is important. Okay, so Abby already had her sweatshirt. And she lied about giving her sweatshirt to Abby. And another thing too is she really contradicted herself, Kelsey. She said a lot of the time that she didn't want her little sister around with her and she didn't like her to ride with her and all that stuff. Because that was her little sister. But she backtracked many years later and then she said, she had a jacket in there because she rode with me everywhere. So that caught my attention. And I kind of thought, well, why did she change that statement? And it makes sense now because they found Kelsey's hair in Abby's hand. And now the police and Kelsey are trying to explain the fact that the reason why Abby had her hair in her hands was that it was Kelsey's jacket. So, of course, her hair was going to be found on the girl somehow. Not 70 to 72 that have been yanked out by their bloody roots, okay? And again, it was proven that the jacket that Abby was wearing that day, she already owned. That was a jacket she already owned and wore before. Plus, Libby was wearing her Delphi swim t-shirt, okay? Um, Libby was very big in the swim team. She loved it, and she was part of the swim team. So she had a Delphi swim t-shirt. I believe it was either blue or black with yellow lettering on it. And Kelsey told investigators that she had a tie-dye shirt on. And that shirt was actually believed underneath that Delphi shirt. So why didn't she tell them that she was wearing the Delphi or the Delphi swim shirt? And I mean, she obviously saw what they were wearing. Why didn't she say, "Oh, she wore a tie-dye shirt with a Delphi swim shirt over it"? So she's wearing two shirts. So she never mentioned that Delphi swim shirt. That's really odd as well. Um, Kelsey spoke to the guy, Anthony Schatz, the day after the murder, and she lied about it. Cops came forward and asked anybody who had ever spoken with Anthony Schatz on any kind of social media to come forward. Kelsey gave an interview that she had no idea who this guy was. She had never spoken to him. She has no idea who he is. And then she comes out many years later and she says, "Oh, yeah, I got on, once the girls were discovered, I got on Libby's," I think she said her social media, because Kelsey has all of Libby's passcodes, to her devices and her social media accounts, which that will definitely come back as well later. Um, and Kelsey contacted Anthony Schatz through Libby and said, "Hey, this is Kelsey, Libby's sister. Have you seen her?" And Anthony Schatz came back and said, "No, we were supposed to meet today at the bridge, but I couldn't show up," something like that. And then messaged him back that saying, "Well, did you hear about what happened at the bridge?" And then he messaged back, "No, what happened?" So she never told the cops that until years later, and she never admitted to anybody that she did contact Anthony Schatz. Okay. She Her cell phone also was never searched. Never searched for pings or where she was or to even validate her alibi. Nothing was that. Nothing was done. Her alibi changed many times, and she even goes online on social media a lot to kind of joke about it, like, "Oh, wait, if I say something that's different, people are gonna just trash me." It's different if you say, "There was maybe about 4 or 5 people around when I was there," to then remember, "Oh my gosh, wait a minute, it was more like maybe 6 or 7." Okay, that's a little change, that's something excellent to remember. But it's different when you say there was 3 to 4 people there to where it was, "Okay, well, there was about a good 150 people there." That's a massive difference. That's a huge difference. Mm, mm. So, for her alibi changing, it's not just little itty bitty, like, sometimes tiny things, it changes after information has come out regarding Abby and Libby and their case, such as the hairs. When it came out about the hairs that were in the girl's hands, Kelsey immediately changed her story and said, "Oh, yeah, well, it's my hairs, that you," when the police asked her, "Why is your hair in her hands?" Just said, "Oh, they were wearing my jackets, that's why." And the police said, "Oh, yeah, okay. So, yeah, definitely, absolutely explains it." Um, Kelsey, again, she has access to all of Libby's social media and her devices, and she knew all the passcodes. And interestingly, I'm going to actually bring it up for you guys because I think it's really interesting, and I hope you can see this again. I'm gonna screen share. I hope you guys can see it. Share screen. Alright. Hopefully you guys can see this
That's a little
right
change. That's
here.
something excellent to remember.
I
But
certainly
it's
hope.
different when you say there was
Darn it,
3
you
to
can't.
4
Okay,
people
never
there
mind.
to
I'll
where
stop
it
screen
was
sharing because
okay.
it won't actually show you guys. I'm sorry. Okay, so what I wanted to show you was that in the Delphi brief that was presented by the news channel WTHR at 2:07, or sorry, 1:43 p.m., a Snapchat post of selfie with Abby in the car. This is what Libby did. This was like her social media footprint that afternoon. 1:43, she posted a selfie on Snapchat with Abby. They were in Kelsey's car going to the bridge. 2:45 p.m., a Snapchat post of the Monon Bridge. 2:05 p.m., a Snapchat post picture of Abby on the bridge. 2:13 p.m. records 43 seconds with Abby on bridge. And that's the bridge guy video. That 2:07 Snapchat post picture of Abby on the bridge was deleted. So that picture that you guys have actually been seeing online about Abby on that bridge by herself, that's not the actual picture, that's AI. So, I'm so sorry, excuse me. Even the Delphi suspect, bridge guy, was enveloped with AI. So it's so weird about information that has been missing and that wasn't actually looked at. And even police indicated that they mishandled evidence. A lot of stuff got thrown away. They made a lot of mistakes, absolutely, in the initial investigation, and they're suffering for it now. And my opinion is the way that they're trying to make up for it is by putting a mentally disabled person in jail for it, like they did with that Brandon guy from Making a Murderer. I mean, it's really sad how it takes very little evidence to put somebody in jail. I mean, you're no longer innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until you're proven innocent. And in my opinion, the prosecution did not make their case. They only came with those 61 confessions that could be easily tossed out. The witnesses who couldn't even identify Richard as the bridge guy. They had the gunshot, the gun. They had the shell casing of the gun, which was proven that it could have been from another gun. And then they had, oh gosh, I'm sorry. There was one more fourth piece of evidence, but yeah. And a lot of violence in young girls like that are done by somebody that they know. And this case has been looked at by a lot of true crime, especially detectives, and they thought a woman might have done this. So I don't know. Again, I'm not accusing anybody. I just want to know why the police haven't answered those questions. Maybe they think they don't need to because they truly ruled her out as a suspect, or but they've come every single time, every news report, and said nobody has been ruled out as a suspect, specifically even the family. So there's many videos about why the family wasn't ruled out of this investigation, and I just want to say I think there was good reason for that, especially since Kelsey was the last one who saw Abby and Libby that day. Her again, everything has changed in her story. Her hair was found in Abby's hands. She misdescribed a key piece of clothing. I mean, and she has access to all the social media. She could have deleted that information. She contacted Anthony Schatz and lied about it. Oh my God, there's just some things that just make me question. Like, I think they have the wrong person on trial. I mean, I'm not saying that again, I'm not speculating she did this. I'm just saying there's enough questions here to raise enough doubt where Richard Allen should not be on trial. Now, I'm sure there are absolutely a lot of answers that explain everything away regarding Kelsey, but not to me. And why wouldn't authorities want to rule it out? I mean, again, it just seems so crazy, especially with her hair being yanked out of her head and in Abby's hand. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think, obviously, in the comments. Excuse me. I hate to do this. I hate to wrap up this video because this was obviously a nice live stream. I haven't live streamed in a while, and it's so nice. I'm definitely going to live stream again on Friday night. I'll put the link up. We'll talk some more about this. And I will absolutely put together my Yellow Jackets theory video through editing with you guys. Again, the script is ready. I'm so excited to go over theories on the Antler Queen with you guys and tell you who I think it is. And I'm also excited to talk to you guys about this case because, again, I'm sure closing arguments are probably tomorrow, but oh my gosh, guys. I mean, from this case, it's only been like maybe 16 days or something, maybe 2.5 weeks that they've been doing this trial. they haven't convinced me. Like I said, if I was on the jury, I would not convict this man. There's so much doubt, and there's no, I hate to say smoking gun, but there's no undefiable evidence to indicate that this was him. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments. If you think it's Richard Allen, definitely let me know why in the comments. Maybe there's something that I missed. If you have any questions about the court case that you didn't have answered, let me know in the comments. I'm absolutely going to address you guys. I do want to let you know very quickly that my Twitter and my YouTube channel accounts definitely vary in opinions regarding Richard Allen's guilt or innocence. On Twitter, excuse me, X, I have 15% voting Richard Allen as guilty, 57% voting, 0.7% voting him as not guilty, and 26.9% said, I'm not sure. So definitely not guilty by Texas standards. Okay. Now, at YouTube, we have 80% guilty. That's right, guys. You heard me. 80% guilty. And 20% I'm not sure, and 0% not guilty. So all of you out there who think he's guilty, please let me know why you think so in the comments. Again, this is a safe space to put your opinions. It's like politics. Happily agree to disagree and have a conversation, have a logical conversation about it, and agree to disagree. But I just want to know what you guys think. Again, do you think he's guilty? Do you think he's not guilty? Did the state prove their case? Did they not? Yeah, I mean, just let me know what you think again in the comments. I can't wait to chat with you guys. And again, I can't wait to get those videos out for you. I will see you guys on Friday night. We'll probably do 7 p.m. again because my son does not get out until late Friday nights due to the football games. So 7 is generally where he's got to be there, and I'll have some time to settle down and chat. So I'll see you guys Friday at 7 p.m. I love